There is a specific kind of quiet that happens the first time you check your bank account and do not feel your stomach drop. Not because there is a lot of money in there, because for once, there is enough. If you know that feeling, you know it did not come from a windfall. It came from months of being careful in a way nobody saw. You know the other feeling too. The one where your phone buzzes with a text from your mechanic and your whole body tenses before you even open it. Or the one where your card gets declined at the grocery store and, for a second, you forget how to breathe. That reaction is not about the $11 in question. It is about every single month you have lived one unexpected bill away from collapse. And somewhere along the way, you stopped calling it stress. You just called it Tuesday. You got so used to the tightness in your chest around money that you forgot it was optional. You thought that was just what being an adult felt like. It is not. And the moment you build even a small cushion, your nervous system finds that out almost immediately. This is not a video about budgeting apps or coupon codes. This is about what actually happens inside your body and your brain the day you finally have 3 months of savings sitting behind you. Stay with me, because the part that surprises people the most is not the number. It is how fast the fear leaves once the number is real. Let us start with where most people are standing right now, because chances are it is closer to your life than you think. In 2026, 54% of Americans say they are living paycheck to paycheck. More than half the country, one missed payday away from real trouble. 53% say they worry about money every single day, not once a month. Every day. 43% could not cover a $1,000 emergency out of savings if it hit tomorrow. 1 in 3 do not even have enough saved to cover 1 month of basic living expenses, let alone 3. So if you have ever felt like you were the only one white-knuckling it through the month, you were not. You were the majority. 39% of people say they lose actual sleep over money, lying awake, doing math in the dark. That is not weakness. That is a nervous system responding accurately to a genuinely unstable situation. Your body was not broken. Your bank account was giving your brain a real reason to stay on alert. And this is the part almost nobody explains clearly. Financial stress is not really about lacking money. It is about lacking time. When you have no cushion, every emergency becomes a countdown. The car breaks down, and suddenly you have 3 days to solve a problem you cannot afford. Your brain does not experience that as an inconvenience. It experiences it as a threat, the same ancient alarm system that once warned humans about predators. Except now the predator is a $400 transmission repair, and the alarm does not know the difference. That is why financial stress bleeds into everything else. 71% of Americans report moderate to extreme financial stress, and for women, that number climbs to 77%. People with financial stress report trouble concentrating at work, shorter tempers at home, and a kind of low-grade exhaustion that never fully lifts. It is not in your head. It is in your bloodstream, your sleep, your relationships, your ability to sit still. So now picture the opposite. Picture the exact same car problem, the exact same $400 repair, happening to someone with 3 months of savings sitting untouched. It is still annoying. It is still an expense they did not want. But it is no longer an emergency. It is a Tuesday. And that difference between emergency and Tuesday is the entire subject of this video. Here is what almost nobody tells you about savings. The number itself matters less than what it does to your sense of time. Without a cushion, your brain is only ever thinking about the next 2 weeks. Survival mode does not plan further ahead than the next paycheck. With 3 months of savings, something quietly shifts. Your brain starts being able to think in seasons instead of days. That shift alone has a name in psychology. Researchers call it moving from scarcity, thinking into what is sometimes described as bandwidth. Scarcity does not just cost you money, it costs you cognitive bandwidth, the actual mental space you have left over for everything else in your life. When people are constantly calculating whether they can afford something, studies show it functionally lowers their available focus, similar to the effect of losing a full night of sleep. That is why broke does not just feel bad emotionally. It makes you worse at your job, worse at conversations, worse at patience with your own kids. Now flip it. The data on emergency savings and stress is almost suspiciously consistent, no matter which study you look at. One widely cited finding puts it plainly. Just $2,000 in savings represents a real psychological tipping point where people report a sharp drop in financial anxiety, regardless of their income level. Not $50,000, not six figures. $2,000 was enough to measurably change how safe people felt. So imagine what 3 full months of expenses does. For most households, that is somewhere between $9,000 and $20,000, depending on where you live. That same research found people with a financial buffer spend roughly half the time dealing with financial stress compared to people without one. Half. Not because their income changed, because the buffer did. This is why two people earning the exact same salary can have completely different stress levels. Income is not the variable. The gap between income and emergency is the variable. And once that gap is filled, even partially, your body responds like a threat has been removed, because to your nervous system, it has. Cortisol, the hormone your body releases under chronic stress, does not care about your job title. It responds to unpredictability. A stable income with no savings can produce more chronic stress than a modest income with a real cushion, because unpredictability is the actual trigger, not the number on your paycheck. This is why so many people say the same thing after finally hitting 3 months saved. They describe it less like relief and more like their whole body exhaled. Sleep improves first. That is usually the earliest sign, because nighttime is when the brain used to run its worst-case scenarios uninterrupted. Then something less obvious happens. People start making better decisions, not because they suddenly got smarter, but because fear stopped making the decisions for them. Fear is a terrible financial advisor. It pushes you toward whatever feels safest in the next 10 minutes, even when that is the worst move for the next 10 years. With a cushion in place, you get your decision-making back. You can finally ask what is smart instead of only asking what stops the bleeding right now. Let us talk about what this actually looks like in daily life, because the shift is quieter than people expect. It is not fireworks. Nobody throws a party the day they hit 3 months saved. It shows up in small, almost boring ways. It is opening a text from your landlord about a rent increase and feeling annoyed instead of terrified. It is your car making a strange noise on the highway and your first thought being an appointment, not a crisis. It is sitting in a meeting where your manager mentions layoffs might be coming, and instead of panic, you feel something closer to alertness, concerned but not desperate. That distinction matters more than people realize. Desperation makes you take the first offer, the first raise, the first way out, even if it is a bad deal. Alertness lets you actually negotiate. It lets you wait for the right offer instead of the only offer. This shows up directly in workplace data too. Employees with less than 3 months of savings are 76% more likely to be actively job hunting than those with a real buffer. Meanwhile, among people with 6 or more months saved, only about 1 in 5 are job searching at all. That is not because the well-funded group loves their jobs more. It is because they are not being pushed by fear anymore. They are choosing, not fleeing. Savings do not just protect your bank account. They protect your negotiating position, your patience, and your ability to walk away from something that is not working. There is a phrase for this in behavioral finance. It is called having options. Once you have options, stress stops being about survival and starts being about strategy. It also changes how you experience your own home. People with savings describe something almost strange, a sense of being able to actually rest in their own space. Before the cushion, rest often felt irresponsible, like your brain refused to relax because there was always another bill to think about. After the cushion, rest becomes possible again, because your brain finally believes there's nothing urgent left to solve tonight. And this is where the emotional payoff becomes measurable. Nearly 40% of people in a 2026 survey said their financial anxiety was actually easing, not worsening. That is the first time in years that number has moved in the right direction, and savings behavior is a major reason why. Compare that to the 88% of Americans who said they started this year already carrying some form of financial stress. The people whose stress is easing are not usually the highest earners. They are the ones who built a buffer, even a modest one, and gave their nervous system a reason to stand down. This is also why comparing yourself to people who seem calm about money can be so misleading. Calm is rarely about income. It is almost always about buffer. Someone earning less than you, but sitting on 3 months of savings will often feel safer than someone earning double with nothing set aside. Once you understand that, the whole conversation about money stops being about how much you make and starts being about how much distance you have from zero. Now here is the part that might sting a little, but it is important, so stay with it. Only 26% of Americans say they feel highly confident about their financial future right now. That means roughly 3 out of every 4 people you know are quietly carrying some version of the exact anxiety we just described. If you already have 3 months saved, you are not just financially ahead. You are emotionally ahead of most of the country, whether it feels that way or not. And if you do not have it yet, this is not a lecture about discipline. This is simply what the research says is waiting for you on the other side. The relief is not imaginary. It is documented, it is repeatable, and it does not require you to be rich to access it. It requires a gap between your expenses and your emergency fund, and that gap can be built one small deposit at a time. The people who built theirs rarely describe it as a straight line. Most describe stalling out, restarting, and slowly closing the distance anyway. What changes first is never the bank balance. What changes first is the way you check it. One day you open the app expecting bad news, and it is just a number, not a threat, just information. That is the entire transformation. Not luxury, not wealth. Just the quiet, almost invisible relief of a threat finally standing down. So if this described exactly what your last 2 years have felt like, you're not imagining it, and you are definitely not alone in it. This channel exists for people building that exact kind of stability, one honest number at a time, with no noise and no shame attached to wherever you are starting from. If that is the kind of person you are becoming, subscribe to the Wealth Metrics, because this is a channel for people who refuse to let fear make their financial decisions for them.